one thing I like about the book, obviously for being a professor, is that it's open source. What made you all decide to go open source with it?
Because it should be for the people. I mean, it's. I don't agree with books being behind a paywall, and luckily Michael was able to find funding for that. But we absolutely, and we're working on another book right now. I don't know if we'll have the funding to put it open source, but I'm a strong believer that, knowledge is about sharing. We pay taxes, and taxes go to grants and or are distributed in different ways, and that the knowledge and the fruits of all of that should come back to the people. So anyone should. We wanted to write this book so it would be accessible to anyone, not just in terms of open access, but that it would make sense, that it could be readable for people and not hidden behind jargon or big words that don't just say what you should say.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like with the way that universities still deal with textbooks is kind of archaic. You know what I mean? Because there's so much information. It's 2025. You can gather and curate information in a number of ways. And so to force students to buy textbooks is,
Right.
I mean, I know everybody has their reasons, and I guess some books may be necessary, but I really appreciate that. So thank you for making it open source. And looks like Monica, one of my students, says thank you. She appreciates that as well. One of my favorite parts about the way that you two wrote the book is that I think each chapter begins with some storytelling.
Yes.
And I think for me, that's what it's all about. You mind talking a little bit about that?
So we wanted to, again, a lot of what we learned from these retreats was, we had all kinds of people who came to them. So different generations, people involved in different ways, in different issues. And there was a lot of storytelling in these retreats as well. We wanted to open up the chapter kind of with an example, but not kind of a clinical case study, but something would speak about what we were trying to say in the chapter. So that was really the impetus, because I think that both of us, both Michael and I, have had different types of experiences, but we would often meet and chat and share these stories with each other. So I think that's it's a fundamentally human, throughout the world, a human trait is to share stories. And I think that's what it's about. And we could add the literature and all the main points after that, but we wanted something that would encapsulate kind of the point that we were trying to make in each chapter.
Yeah. And another thing that bothers me about higher education in these days is, for example, I teach mostly online asynchronous courses, and you lose that essence sometimes of the ability to do some storytelling from the professor side, but also from the students. If you had a physical classroom, obviously it depends somewhat on the way that the teacher facilitates the class, but there's always an opportunity to talk story and share things before class, after class, and the discussions and things like that. Essentially, a social work class on online asynchronous could end up just being the banking model of education, me giving you a bunch of stuff and then giving you a paper or testing you on it. And there's really no opportunity for students to tell their story or to share their wisdom or knowledge. And I'm a big believer that everybody comes to the classroom. I'm not just a teacher. I learn, each class that I teach, I learn more and more each time. And so what I've been doing is facilitating optional voluntary talking circles a couple times a week where students can come on their own. And we just have, we check in with each other, and then we just have a very basic talking circle, which I learned from Alaskan Native elders, but it's very basic. Just, we don't have a circle. So I'll just make a list and everybody can share whatever's on their heart. They can unburden their heart. I'll give them some talking points, but they can really talk about whatever they want. And I've just been very, very heartened, and it fills up my heart almost each and every session that we have, because the students show up for each other. They're authentic. They share their wisdom, their stories, their knowledge. They learn from each other. If we go late, they stick around and support each other.